Make a motion to approve as amended.
We have a motion, do we have a second? Second. We have a second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nope. The minutes are approved as amended. Next item, disclosure. Do any planning board members have any potential conflicts on the matters before the board this evening to disclose? No, hearing none. Disclosure and notice. Do any planning board members need to disclose any ex parte communications about any contested or material adjudicatory facts or opinions concerning the merits of any application before the board this evening? Again, hearing none. Okay. Our voting members for this evening. Let's see, who's first alternate now? Okay. So Dr. Benoit, Dr. Roberts, Mr. Porter, Mr. Menard, and myself. Okay. First new business item on the agenda, a public information meeting, Major Land Development Master Plan, the Nets building expansion. Applicant, Mr. Jason Jarvis, 125 Industrial Drive, Assessor's Plat 5, Lot 425, Zone Manufacturing. And with that, we'll...
Sure. Thank you, Mr. Chairman. Members of the board, good evening. Just for the record, my name's Joe Casali. I'm a registered professional engineer with offices at 300 Post Road in Warwick. With me is Jason Jarvis. Jason is the owner of New England Truck Solutions, and also Dan DeCesare, who's a professional engineer, a project manager with us, working on the project. If I may, as always, Mr. Chairman, just quickly, PowerPoint presentation to go over the project. We are here tonight for our master plan approval of a major land development. I believe you all know where the project is. Providence Pike Route 5, 146 Industrial Drive, Comstock Road, which is partially unimproved. It's improved up until there. We do have frontage on it. The topography is one as such. It would never be able to be accessed. And specifically, the subject property, we're talking about the existing New England Truck Solutions current body shop in our offices, Assessor's Plat 5, Lot 425, entirely in your manufacturing zone, and it's a little bit larger than 4 acres, about 4.25 acres. You can see the Laurelwood Condominium Association, our other facility directly across the street, the CVS Warehouse, and Wide World of Indoor Sports are all in that vicinity of Industrial Drive. So specifically, when we look at the piece, about 4.26 acres, you can see our existing building. This proposed building will be raised as part of the proposal. The existing building within the building envelope, and that's the zoning line, manufacturing existing to the north, and the residential suburban, the RS zone, to our immediate south. We're cognizant of the 100-foot minimum distance of structures. From that residential zone, you'll see that nothing will be proposed within that. That's the existing facility. It's about 16,500 square feet. It's going to remain in effect. You know, business is just doing so well. Jason can attest that we need more space for some of the auxiliary functions. That Quonset Hut, that's about 3,400 square feet. That's a temporary structure. We are going to remove and replace that for our graphics and our decal shop right within that area. That's a 9,000 square foot building, 3-bay garage. The entire site is within your water supply overlay district. However, as you know, we are exempt being in the industrial and commercial area. In terms of parking, Mr. Chairman, we have 76 that are required. 88 currently exist today. 4 of them comport to the ADA regulations. In terms of the program for our building, we want a 3-bay garage so we can do, you know, again, different auxiliary functions in terms of the decaling. We are going to replicate that 1-bay paint booth, and then in the middle is more of the office, the utility areas, and the restrooms. You can see from the structure, respectfully, it's nothing fancy. It's utilitarian in nature. That's our business, that's what it is we want with the roll-up doors. And then in terms of utilities, not much is gonna change. We have a domestic well today that'll be able to service both facilities. The gas, the location will remain the same, and we'll be able to take water, gas, and electric from the existing building. We do have an existing force main. We don't have a septic system. We'll be able to connect into that, and so to continue for the restrooms that are gonna be in the auxiliary building. In terms of drainage, there's already a water quality and drainage system on site. We're gonna tie all of the drainage into that. So we don't have an increase in impervious area, but we'll be able to infiltrate at least the water quality volume as part of our proposal. So just in terms of where we are tonight, as we've asked for a master plan approval, we have to, if we're successful tonight, we still have to file with DEM for our construction stormwater application. DOT for physical alteration permit, as Industrial Drive is a state highway, and we've got to go back local community in the town for water and sewer coordination with fire, and then with any luck, we'll be back before this board for preliminary and maybe administrative final. Jason and I are here to answer any questions, Mr. Chairman, of you or members of the board. I think this is a pretty straightforward application, but we of course would like to hear from you.
Any members of the board wish to add anything? Questions? Dr. Bonet?
In performing painting operations, are there certain chemicals that might be harmful to the water, the groundwater?
Jason, why don't we come up and we talk about that? There is nothing that is going to be proposed operationally that doesn't exist here today. Specifically, that's a closed system, but why don't we speak in more detail about it?
Yes, so the building that we currently have now.
Mr. Jarvis,
Yes.
if you could just first introduce
Oh,
yourself.
my name is Jason Jarvis, and I'm the owner of Truck Solutions, New England Truck Solutions.
Great, thank you.
So the current building that we have now, currently we have a 75-foot spray booth in that building now. We perform heavy-duty truck repairs. That booth was built in 2009. We keep it up to the standards of all EPA and requirements now. But this new booth would be state-of-the-art. It would be better for the environment. It would be better for the workplace. It's called the downdraft system. So what it does is instead of just taking the air through the booth and then letting it go up through a filter system, it actually takes it down through filters into the ground, then back up through other filters, and then gets rid of it. So the air coming out of it, the quality of the air coming out of it is better than the air that we breathe. All the paints that we use now for the chemical side are all EPA approved. The state of Rhode Island is very strict on auto body and truck repair facilities. Anything that would be considered harmful years ago are now been taken off the market, and anything that it's a pot washer is done through a third party called Safety Clean, or there's other companies out there. So we don't even involve ourselves with pressure pot cleaners or anything like that anymore. It's all done from third party cleaning to kind of take any risk that there might be. But everything today is pretty much, like I said, all EPA. You can't buy a product today that isn't approved. And the state of Rhode Island has high standards.
And you said you have a registration and license
Through
the
the
state
state,
level
yes.
for the paint booth
Yep.
and the operation.
So we've been licensed since we moved in there in 2005.
Are there any thinners or solvents?
We do no one uses thinners anymore. It's not allowed.
In the plan you showed, were the doors on the south side?
The doors are gonna be on the west side. So that, go back to that, Gary. Yes. So this is that west elevation with the doors. You know, we hope that, like we have the front-facing doors here, we'll be able to utilize. So that'll be the only, the west elevations. And then everything else is just really, you know, in terms of block and metal. There is one access door on the east and the south.
Dr. Knight?
One more question for Mr. Casali. You'll be applying for a PAP. Has the driveway exit right now is not truly perpendicular to industrial highway. Will the new one be perpendicular? So they don't have that angle?
Right, no, we don't anticipate any changes in here. We're gonna file the physical alteration permit application because of the change in use. You know, you can see that this is pretty teed up when you wanna make that exit eastbound or westbound. I think in terms of, because of our specific use, these constant large trucks, these broken back 18-wheelers coming in and out, mostly from, you know, either 146 or Industrial Drive. I think that's why you see that we have that entrance a little bit wider. So I would recommend keeping that as such. The application is not gonna propose any changes to the entrance or the state highway.
All right, so the flow of traffic for the vehicles that you're painting, whatever, is to come in and go along the north side of the existing building?
Yeah,
And then
or a lot of the storage.
Everything comes this way?
Yeah, everything comes in
Oh,
and is
okay.
stored here. All of our other doors.
Oh, it comes in, okay.
Yeah, it comes
Yeah.
in past the front of the building,
Yeah.
up and around. And right now, just because we put this temporary building up, if you don't mind me showing you.
Sure.
So this building here is a temporary building.
Right.
But behind it is a lot of room that we really can't use because of where we put the temporary building. So we
Right.
kind of lost almost the same square footage as this. So our parking for our trucks here will now end up on this side. Will allow us enough room to, we're really not changing our operation. We will be able to hire, obviously, some more people, which is part of the reason. But, like I said, the booth itself we have now currently is a 75-foot booth. This one's, I believe, 80?
Yeah.
This one's 80, which will allow us to, with the downdraft system, will allow you to paint, like let's say it's raining out. We can only paint one truck until it's completely dry. We'll be able to paint a red one and a blue one with a curtain in between and be more productive in that day.
Okay. Anybody else?
I have a couple of
Okay,
questions.
Dr. Roberts?
Okay, thanks. Oops. Thank you. That's on right now. You mentioned that there's no increase in impervious surface. I just want to make sure I heard that correctly.
Yeah, so when we look at the site, this today is all pavement, it's all storage parking. So when we're able to put the new building on top of the impervious surface, there'll be no increase in runoff. However, we will be able to put a water quality system and capture all of the clean runoff from that roof, be able to infiltrate it into the ground, and then connect into the existing drainage system. So there'll be more, while there'll be no more impervious area on the site in post-construction, we can agree that it'll be better in terms of attenuation of peaks, of reduction in volumes, and most importantly, infiltrating that first flush.
Okay, thanks. And I just have a couple more questions. Dr. Benoit asked, excuse me, about the types of chemicals that would be used. I know that technically this area is recently made exempt from it sits on our aquifer, but it still sits on our aquifer. So I'm just wondering, it sounds like you're saying there's no new use from what you've already been doing anyway?
Correct.
Okay, so
Yes.
that was kind of a big question that I had. I saw in the recommendations about how this plan lines up with our comprehensive plan, that there was talk about hiring local employees, and one of you talked about hiring new people. I was just wondering if you had a concrete plan for specifically recruiting local residents for the jobs that you would be offering.
So we've been a really good neighbor here in this town for a long time. I have probably over 97 employees right now, and I would think about 17 of them are from the town. We currently have a work program with the high school for seniors and juniors. A lot of the kids have worked for us over the years. I've coached in the town. And we currently are looking for help all the time. So we post all local on our local papers on Indeed, and everywhere else we can find them. So if anyone knows of anybody, we'd love to
We just
interview.
hope we can find them.
Yeah, that's the big
Take 'em
thing.
from anywhere
Can we
at this
interview?
point.
Yes, but absolutely.
Thank you. I think that's it for now.
Okay. Anyone else? Did you have something? Yeah. Mr. Porter?
I think, Mr. Casali, you've probably had this question from me before, and it's relating to Dr. Roberts' question about the water quality. Are there any systems that are in place to ensure, like if one of the trucks springs a leak, that, there's a cleanup plan or systems in place that would prevent any, spilled liquids to be going into the ground?
So like secondary containment.
Yeah, so,
Okay.
so the way this property is built is anything and this used to be a dealership too, now the dealership's across the street, so it's changed a little. But anything within this building, if we had a leak, we're able to shut off, there is I don't know how many 1,000-gallon tank on the property. So anything that spills into that property then would go to, we would know it would spill. We can shut it off. It goes into a holding tank where then we would have a company like Safety Clean or Acquire, or somebody come in, pump out that station before it would actually get out and contaminate anything. We can contain that in our property.
So it's graded to
It
drain
comes, in, and
into
then it's got
that.
like a
Okay.
huge baffle system, and it's over I don't know exactly, but I know it's over 1,000 gallons that would have
Okay,
to.
great. No, that's good to know. Thank you. That was my only question.
That's it? Okay.
What are you doing for lighting on the building?
I thought you said that was your only question.
I lied.
So what we've always done is we have LEDs pretty much straight down. We're very much lower than this property, and we're really a lot higher than that property. So that property really doesn't, like my other property, doesn't really influence the streetlights or the neighbors behind us.
Okay.
Well, is it dark sky compliant lighting?
Yeah, it's whatever the new LEDs, we just had them done by Rise, I'm not sure.
Yeah, those would have the baffles.
Those are the shields on them.
Yeah.
Oh, okay.
Great, okay.
One more question.
Okay.
Thanks.
Dr. Roberts?
Oh, yeah, this is about the roof of the new structure. So it looks like how you had the Quonset Hut before. The newer one looks like it's about 3 times as big in square footage, if I'm seeing that right. And I was curious, we're going through some education on our water supply review committee about best practices for our aquifer to protect our drinking water and the residents. And one of the things is low impact design. So I'm curious whether there's a low impact design for a roof like that that would, I know you already talked about how you have the drainage and it captures the water. Is there a roof design that would be in line with low impact design that would complement the design you have to prevent more runoff?
Yeah, practicality is no. We've been a part of designs of quite a few green roofs, both Dan and I. Respectfully, they have good intent. I just don't think they're there yet. The maintenance of them is just so onerous. And if you don't maintain them, you leave yourself with a real problem. So what we're planning on doing for a low-impact design is not commingling that clean runoff from that roof with some of the dirty water that in the parking lot. We want to capture that and put it immediately into a water quality system. In an industrial manufacturing setting, I wouldn't recommend a green roof. We've used them about a half dozen times or so, mostly predominantly in urban areas like the city of Providence. I don't think we're getting the results that are touted. I do think we'll get there someday. I just don't think the technology's there yet, at least my experience.
In a similar vein, have you given consideration to at least building to support solar at some point? Rooftop solar?
Absolutely. We actually have many projects going on, with the other side of the property. And we're talking to the state now. We have 21 acres
Okay.
across the street that we're talking to the state. We just recently purchased two EV franchises, Green Power and Sea Electric, we're the first ones to be selling commercial EV vehicles out of the state of Rhode Island. So we have a big meeting in the next 2 weeks with Dan McKee's office, and we're gonna try to do some things with that. The question is, once we do it, it's gotta be done correctly to help offset the cost of charging a truck. And anything we do now would be way too early until the state decides how much grant money they're gonna do. Do they wanna have a solar parking fields? Do they wanna have the ability for EV vehicles to be in our area? So there's a lot going into that,
Okay.
that's probably a year away from
Right.
now.
Well, I was even thinking just more along the lines of national marker.
Yeah, but our.
Yes, National Market did it, yeah.
Our
You know,
foundation and that steel structure is not designed to support solar. What we're seeing in the industry is the added expense for the steel and the concrete, they end up just spanning the solar a lot over the program. Like, we've done a bunch of storage projects, and we're figuring, okay, why don't we put solar on top of that? It would be a win-win. And the cost of the increase in the steel and the concrete, we've been spanning them more than
Yeah.
putting them on top. But, so that's not designed, while Jason has plans for green energy and solar, this is, to answer your question directly, Mr. Chairman, no, that's not
Eh,
designed.
Yeah, I mean, what you're saying
And
is
it's
that
such a small,
it's not a big roof.
so an acre is a meg, a
Yeah.
watt, you know, this is about a quarter of an acre, 9,000 square
Yeah.
feet, maybe a little less.
Yeah,
So,
20% probably, yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah, and you're saying the technology isn't there because it's still too heavy.
they
That's the
are, these
problem.
panels are still too heavy, they'll come, but they haven't yet.
Right, okay. Well, if we don't have any other comments, we have there is an informational hearing.
Make a motion to open the public hearing.
Do we have a second?
Second.
Those in favor? Aye. Opposed? No? All right. The informational hearing is open at 7:23. Anybody wish to speak? You just go up to the podium, please, introduce yourself, and remember to address all questions to the board, and then we'll get them answered after that.
Mr. Chairman, thank you. My name is Mark London. I live at 170 Providence Pike, Unit 118. So I am directly across the street from this development. And my first question is, in the application, it mentions that there is a right-of-way from Laurelwood Partners. Being new to the development, I was wondering if you could tell me where that right-of-way is and what does it contain?
Okay? Mr. Casali, can you?
I'm not,
I
yeah, there
Oh,
is,
okay.
I don't know if we have.
You'd have to go back if you
How's
want
that?
to show you though. So what they used a construction site at the time, if you go back maybe to the other picture I could show. So behind what was Watson, I'm trying to think what the company's name is now, AGI, I think. So over here, as you come down Comstock, there used to be a construction access.
There
so
is
that-
still a construction access road.
That's the right-of-way that used to be through there for that construction access at the time.
Yeah.
So there's no utilities running through that, it's strictly a construction access road?
I think what it is now is it's a maintenance road to your detention basin.
Okay.
What was once a construction access probably remains an access road for that pond.
Mr. Casali, it might be helpful to see the property lines. Do we have the property lines?
I don't know, I only have, so this is Laurelwood, this is your condominium development as you move in, right,
Correct.
around your circle.
Right.
And it looks like this was a construction access, but this ring road remains in perpetuity and will, because that's how they maintain the pond. They have to drive all around and then come back out that ring road. I don't know definitively, but
Well, because, yeah, some of it actually looks like it's on the property related to that other business. And I'm not sure whose property, the retention pond.
Well, the detention pond is on the Laurelwood
Well,
property.
Okay,
Yeah.
so that, right,
It's
so they're
more of a
obviously not-
question of where is the stormwater access right-of-way, and where is the sanitary
Okay.
sewer right-of-way? And will this project impact those two right-of-ways, which are obviously critical to our operation?
Right, okay.
yeah.
Perhaps
no,
we could
We
ta-
do not anticipate, there will only be access from this property as it exists today from Industrial Drive, putting that building up in this general vicinity,
Right.
removing that. There's no need for us to be down in this area. We don't,
I was just-
we're not asking for any permission to be on anyone else's.
If-
I guess
if
that's
we
not my
heard you
that's not
correctly-
my question.
Yeah, if we heard you correctly, also, any work on utilities of any type is all being done within the property,
Yes, that's correct.
therefore not,
Okay, so our right-of-way does not cross your property.
That's correct. So the only utilities to be done would be, water, gas, and electric, to connect from the existing building, and this is proposed, which is a sewer force main to handle that addition. This exists today, that force main, the well exists today, and that gas line, exists today.
Yeah.
So,
if I could ask, I think it'd be helpful, say on your next version of drawings, to show the right-of-way clearly, so we can,
Yeah, I don't think we have
Illustrate
it
a-
surveyed, it's someone else's property.
The problem with this is that that road used to be like a road
Mhm.
for the last 17 years. It's just all going in. You can only get down to where that access is.
From
And then when
Comstock.
you get past where the Waltz Company used to be, like before my land, you used to try to continue to go down there, that Comstock Road now is all overgrown.
So, are you saying that there's no part of the right-of-way on your property at all? Oh, well, then you can't be, they
and,
can't,
okay, the application mentioned Laura Wood Partners right-of-way on the property. That, basically, we're trying to recover all that information since we don't have it.
I think Mr. Carrillo's peeling back the onion.
Yeah, so that may be the confusion. We're showing a sewer easement that runs through the property, but not a right-of-way.
Okay,
So I believe there is a sewer easement that how we connect to the sewer, but there will be no effect to that sewer easement, which is plotted on the plans that are before you, Mr. Chairman.
Okay.
okay, I didn't see the sewer easement on the plans, and I,
Oh, it's not that plan.
okay. So that'll be included in the next drawing?
Well, you see, it's actually on the plan that we have now.
It's on the plans that we have
Right.
now.
Maybe, Mr. Carrillo, if you wouldn't mind, perhaps just illustrate if you want to see it. Did you have any other questions first?
Yes, I had
Why
two
don't
other
we
questions.
Save that for the end.
The other one was, could you just explain what's going to go on in the new building? We have residents in our community that are just concerned
Okay,
about what the operation is.
I think that'd probably be for Mr. Jarvis to,
So the operation is the same operation that's currently being done. We install graphics, fleet wraps on trucks, and we repair heavy-duty trucks, which is replacing boxes, doing welding, and also painting the vehicle when it's damaged. There's nothing new that's gonna be on this property than what's currently there.
I guess that's not my question. The people that I live with just want to know what's going on there. In other words, you're repairing trucks, okay,
We do fleet graphics.
sheet graphics, and when a truck comes in dented, does the truck get repaired there? Does it get banged out? Is there noise? Or do you replace parts there? I mean, the
I
new
mean,
systems.
We do parts, I mean, sometimes there's riveting and everything, but we've been there since 2004 and never had a complaint.
No, I'm not saying there's a complaint, I'm just asking what's
No.
going on.
We're doing anything necessary to repair the truck back to OEM standard.
Okay. And the paint booth is obviously well permitted.
It has to be.
It has to be. Okay. I guess my last question has to do with just notices. Okay, and that is, we did get a notice about this hearing. A whole bunch of us in the community got a notice, but a part of the package was that there was a meeting on the 25th of May,
right, which,
and we never got notices. And maybe it's because we're just finally getting on our own feet about Laurelwood. Our executive board just filed contact information with the town that, in the future, anything within the prescribed distance, we'd like to be notified,
right.
which we weren't in the past.
So you're saying you were notified of the May 25th, the original?
No, we were not notified of the
Oh,
May
okay.
25th meeting. We were notified of tonight's
Of
meeting.
this one?
Which is why we continued May 25th.
Gotcha.
There was a
So is that just a matter of of them getting on that list? Is that why?
There was issues with the notice for the May 25th meeting, that's why it was canceled. The notice was not served
Okay.
properly.
Okay.
So that's why they received notice for this meeting.
Okay.
Okay.
Basically, what I'm trying to say
was no meeting
is-
May
okay,
25th.
What I'm saying is that we are a community, we're here, we want to participate in the governance of the town, and that anything that pertains to us, well, we'd like to be noticed.
Well, and that's why the May 25th meeting was canceled, because
Right.
it hadn't been
And-
notified properly, and that's why you're here today.
That's right, and we thank
Make
you
sure
for
we do
that.
it right.
And I'd just like to take a moment, I'd like to introduce two of our board members.
Okay?
Ron Brule, the president of our board, and Don Baker, our vice president. So, thank you.
Right, well, we look forward to having you at future meetings.
Thank you.
Great. And if you could go see Mr. Carullo, he'll show you, go over that sewer easement with you.
Right, so that sewer easement that you see prescribed on those plans, there's actually no sewer line in it.
Right, it's just an easement.
It's an easement, but there's no utilities within it.
Right, okay, great. Anyone else from the public? Going once, going twice? Okay, I'll take a motion.
I'll make a motion to close the public hearing.
Have a motion, do we have a second? We have a second, those in favor?
Aye.
Aye, opposed? The informational hearing is closed at 7:32. Okay, anything else? Anything else from the board? Any questions, comments? No? So we're looking for, well, let's wait till Mr. Carullo comes back. So we're all set. What are you looking for from us, Mr. Carullo?
Excuse me, Mr. Chairman?
What can we do for you now? We're all good. No more questions or comments?
You can.
Care for a vote or something?
You can vote, that'd be
Okay,
good.
we'll do that. All right. Thank you for taking care of the concerns on the sewer easement.
Mr. Chairman, I will make a motion that we approve the master plan presented to us tonight with the planning office recommendations as stipulations that are numbered 1 through 3 in our agenda. And that's it.
Okay? So we have a motion, basically, take it with the stipulations as currently documented. We didn't add any.
Yep.
Do we have a second? Second. We have seconds and thirds. Sounds good. Roll call vote. Dr. Benoit?
Yes.
Dr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Menard? Yes. And the chair votes yes. So I think that's the first application I've seen come through a master plan without a single stipulation being added to it. So congratulate yourselves on that. Yes, yes. Thanks. Thank you. All right. All righty. Was that number 8? Was that item 8?
Yeah. Item 8.
Oh, item 8 is the next item, sorry, okay. Okay, next on the agenda, amendment to the town's zoning ordinance, general revisions to clarify language, remove outdated language, and correct inconsistencies with zoning enabling legislation. Mr. Carullo, why don't you start us off?
So, Mr. Chairman, board members, the
Boy,
town.
I know how to clear a room, don't I?
Yeah, you do. You did a great job.
Mention zoning ordinance and poof.
The town clerk's office has contracted with a company, I don't recall the name offhand, but like Code Corporation or something like that. Yeah, it says Code. And they actually went through the full code of ordinances as well as the zoning code, and they were trying to check and correct any language corrections that need to take place there, or any updates based on updates to the Rhode Island general laws or the statutes. And at a point, when they completed the process, they forwarded the zoning section, which is going to be new chapter 340, to the planning office to review. And basically what the planning office did was it went through line by line of all the amendments and changes that the Code Corporation was recommending or had been recommended to them by staff. And we went through and we made comment, and where changes were appropriate, we noted that. Where we thought they were not appropriate or they did not comply with the statute, we presented that. So if you look at this, this is a point-by-point response to the Code Corporation where the planning office's responses are in red. Solicitor Igliozzi suggested, even though it's not technically a zoning amendment, he suggested this document come before the planning board for a review and a recommendation to the council with regard to compliance with the comprehensive plan. There are a few what I would call potential zoning amendments in here, and I point that out, and where they are, I'm suggesting to the Code Corporation that they do not proceed with those at this time because they weren't really properly vetted. So that's what this document is. No, you can't. The process is actually, not only that, Mr. Chairman, but the process is any amendment to the zoning code needs to be advertised once in its entirety in the paper, and then it needs to be advertised that there's going to be an amendment once a week for 3 successive weeks, at least prior to the date of the hearing. So where there are, I think there were maybe 3 in here that appeared to me to be changes to the zoning code that would result in actual amendment, where we're telling them, yeah, correcting language or bringing it in compliance with the statute. That's not really a change, and you'll see, some of the things, like one of them is they had the wrong definition for accessory dwelling unit, things like that, and all of those things. And someone had suggested they change development plan review to site plan review. That's technically incorrect and not compliant with the statute, so I'm saying put that back. So these are basically just cleanup issues with language and verbiage in the zoning code to make it comply with the statute. And there's a lot of them.
Right. And it's just for us to approve it or not?
Not really,
approve
it's just
changes,
to make a recommendation to the council as to whether you believe
Oh.
it's compliant with the comprehensive plan.
Okay.
And I believe it is. And I think I've laid that out in the planning
Right.
department's findings.
So, does anybody have any?
I have a question on grammar,
On grammar,
punctuation.
punctuation,
A3,
A3,
P, in red,
yes.
add a comma. after
Yes,
the
that's been
phrase.
eliminated.
Maybe we'll get, it doesn't need a comma.
Right, that's been eliminated.
Very good.
You're correct.
That's from 6th grade.
It's like quotation marks, people.
I have a question.
Type around.
It's for you, Mark. In terms of the changes, I know you said it was like crosswalked with Rhode Island law to make sure it's in compliance and everything. There was one that stood, all right, my general question is any of this, any of the changes different in substance from what was already there, or is it just mostly like dotting the i's and crossing the t's? Like, is there anything substantive that got changed?
Anything substantive that got changed, I'm suggesting it not be
I
changed.
understand. Okay, because it would be considered an amendment.
Right, it would be
Yeah.
considered an amendment. So, for example, if you go to A3, they removed something at the top of the page. They removed the maximum height of a building in an MU zone. So you
Right.
can't
Right,
do
right.
that.
Yep.
Right.
You have to put it back.
Yeah.
So, no, everything else, where, everything else is pretty much just, there was some removal of language of zoning designations that were eliminated many years ago. In certain sections of the code, it would just it lingered on and no
Right.
one took it out. So
Yeah.
there's some of that too.
So just cleaned up.
It's mostly cleanup.
And then my other related question is, one that stood out to me, and I was just curious about it, is there was a change, you mentioned it a few minutes ago, in the accessory dwelling.
Accessory dwelling
Yeah,
unit.
and I was just curious, because you said something about it has to align, like it must align
Yes,
with a state
correct.
law. Was that state law the one that was recently passed around tiny homes, or is that something else?
Not tiny homes, no.
Okay.
So prior state law, and This change took place maybe a year and a half ago, I think. Used to be called accessory family dwelling units, and this has changed over time. And the statute changed about a year and a half ago to take family out and redefine what an accessory dwelling unit is, so that it can no longer be restricted solely to family members. And that's that's the change that I had mentioned, accessory dwelling unit. There are no tiny home or small home amendments in this at all.
Okay. All right, that's pretty much it. And just a comment for the chair, that, you know, understanding that everything is really just kind of technically aligning up. I don't have any other questions. Like, it seems like it would be compatible because it's really just mostly
Yeah.
administrative and, yeah.
Making it better wording, et
Right,
cetera. Yeah.
yep.
Okay. So we just need a motion to recommend or not?
It's a recommendation, right?
Yep.
I'll make that recommendation to town council to forward the planning office's comments and have a positive recommendation that we move forward with them,
As is.
as is.
Okay.
Thank you.
And also adding a thanks to the planning office for going through such an arduous task.
It took about 2 weeks.
Yep.
Yeah, I'll bet it did. So we have a motion to recommend positive, make a positive acceptance of the changes as defined by the planning office as is. Do we have a second on that? Second. We have a second. It was nice, gave him his turn. So we have a motion and we have a second. So roll call vote. Dr. Benoit?
Yes.
Dr. Roberts? Mr. Porter?
Yes.
Mr. Menard? Yes. And the chair votes yes. Excellent work, as always, from our staff. So what is next on the agenda? In theory,
Tiffany's got it going too.
look at that.
She's on top of things over
Nice. Well, we are faced once again with one of our full members not being in attendance. So, and I believe, you are now a full member, but when,
Normally, the planner would act as moderator to conduct this phase.
oh, that's true. That's a good point.
So, Mr. Moderator,
Well,
you will be,
if we decide to proceed, I think there was some indication from the board at every meeting we've had so far that unless there was a full attendance, that you would continue this. Now, I'll leave that up to the direction of the board.
I'm going to make a motion, and if the board doesn't want to go with it, it's up to the board.
Well,
I'll make a motion that we keep the existing officers as is. That includes Mr. Keene as secretary.
so we have a motion from Mr. Benoit that we keep the current chair, vice chair, and secretary. Is there a second to the motion?
I second that.
We have a second. So we could do a roll call vote. I don't, would the alternate vote? I think we'll have we could allow the alternates to vote, no?
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
we always have.
Ms. Marandola?
Yes.
Dr. Roberts?
Yes.
Mr. Benoit?
Yes?
Mr. Menard? Yes. Mr. Keene is not here, so he'll be secretary by Mr. Porter?
Yes.
And last, Mr. Chairman?
Sure, why not?
Yes. Sounds good.
You've been doing it for free the past couple months anyways.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
So
Okay,
it's unanimous.
we can finally take that off the agenda. And, yeah, and next on the agenda, we have administrative subdivision, and that's the, for MCS Enterprises on 90 Tiff Road. That's the map you gave out, Bobby? That's for this item on the agenda?
Yeah, this one is an administrative subdivision. It was a merger of 3 lots at 90 Tift Road. The lots were lots 49, 319, and 397. and it was for a total of 58 acres, and it's in the REA zone.
Oh, so, yeah, so it was merged, so, what is it, could you just give us some background on it? How this came to, did they just come in and say, hey, we want to merge stuff?
So, Mr. Chairman, this property was recently sold, and as they were going through the transaction, the new buyers decided, rather than have 3 lots, they wanted to merge all of the lots. So they had the.
So there was a buyer buying the 3?
There was a buyer buying the 3, and they merged them all into one. They did a perimeter survey. They had recorded the survey as part of the purchase, thinking that the survey would merge the lots. We notified them, or Bobby notified them, I was out at the time, that, a survey is simply a perimeter survey and need to record an administrative subdivision. So they did that, I think. Upon recording this administrative subdivision, they then transacted the property, and they closed recently, I think in the last week or two. So it was just a transaction, and the merger was part of that transaction.
This is north of another solar development, right?
Yes.
Okay, because I remember we had the folks that were kind of landlocked and weren't able to get to their property
Yeah.
at a previous
Yes.
meeting. Okay.
Yeah.
There was
But that's
Jason
not this
on the farm.
property.
No,
Okay.
we just finished that letter today.
The one south to the, to this property, yeah.
It was for their own use, correct?
I believe so, yes.
Okay.
Where is the marking? I can't see lot, unless I'm not looking clearly, 397.
Right there.
Oh, I see.
Yeah, so it's almost like,
That's just a little.
it's
blur.
almost like concentric circles type
okay.
thing, yeah, it's
Okay, got
the
it.
big one, then a smaller one, and then a smaller one.
Thank you.
Yeah, makes sense. I often wonder about these things we get on, there's like 9 lots, and we're talking about a project that spans them all, so.
You can see this coming.
So I think we're good, so thank you for passing this along,
There's a motion on the table.
right? And we have a motion on the table to adjourn, do we have a second?
I'll second.
We have
Thank you.
an eager second. Those in favor?
Aye.
Opposed? Nope. We are adjourned at 7:48.